All right, good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending where you are. My name is Steve Davidson, and I'm with Torrey Hills Capital. We're pleased today to host today's call with Brixton Metals. Brixton is advancing its flagship Thorn Project in British Columbia, Canada, drilling for new discoveries of copper and gold. The Thorn Project has attracted the attention of BHP, who has made a strategic investment in the company. Brixton trades on the OTC under the symbol BBXF and on the Venture Exchange in Canada under the symbol BBB. Joining me today is from Brixton Metals is Gary Thompson, Chairman, President, CEO, and Michael Rapsch, VP of Investor Relations. Before I turn the call over to Gary and Michael, I want to take a quick moment to review the logistics. We like this call to be as interactive as possible, so to this end, if there are any questions along the way, please click on either the Q&A or chat buttons located on the navigation pane that's at the bottom of the Zoom panel and type in your question. I will then pose those questions to management in a timely manner. There will be a dedicated Q&A at the conclusion of the presentation where we can unmute attendees and allow for further discussion. You can also submit more questions through the Q&A and chat feature at the bottom. So with that said, I'm pleased today to introduce today's presenting company, Brixton Metals. Michael and Gary, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. There we are. Pull up today's presentation. And again, thank you all for joining us on today's introduction to the Brixton Metals story. What you see here, our cover page of the presentation, that is actually the Thorn or the camp at the Thorn Project in Northwest British Columbia, Canada. We do have a 1 kilometer airstrip on site. And on the left-hand side, you see all the drilling core and the core shack over here, where new core, when it comes off the hill, gets logged and cut in half and then sent to the labs. On the right-hand side, what you see here is the kitchen facilities, the showers, washrooms, etc., and then housing. So that's the camp at the Thorn Project. It's fully permitted for about 100 people. And last year, when I was actually on site in August, there were up to about 58 people in and out coming to the Thorn camp. And I'm going to advance the slide. Oh, here we go. The usual disclaimer, we have some forward-looking statements in this presentation, so please be aware of that. The team, the people behind Brixton Metals. And if you're looking at investing in, the exploration space, the metals and mining space, one key component are the people, the management. And everybody on this slide has extensive experience in the metals and mining space, has managed, publicly traded companies, sold them. So everyone on this page is really well versed in the mining space, from the board of directors, independent board of directors, all the way to the management. Gary and Cale Moody, our CFO, are the founders of Brixton Metals, and I joined Brixton Metals last year in April with 18 years of experience in capital markets and corporate communications. And there's about 3 takeaways from this call today as we're going through these slides. Keep in mind or take away that our strategy is threefold. We're looking for and drilling for new discoveries on copper and gold, 2 metals that are highly important in today's age. Gold as a safe haven instrument, and copper, obviously, as this agenda of net zero is shaping up. As the second strategy is, we were able to attract not just BHP, who's the world's largest miner, as a strategic investor, but as you will see in this coming slide, we also have some other strategic partners on our shareholder registry. So BHP basically, after a very long, I think it was 2 or 3 years of due diligence, became a strategic investor with a 19.9% equity stake back in 2022 and have been very supportive of Brixton Metals, specifically on the Thorn projects, where they have said that they believe we have a complete mineral system at the Thorn project. And thirdly, we do have some, we call it non-core assets, non-core projects. And we signed some partnerships, earning agreements with Ivanhoe Electric and Eldorado Gold. We do have a project in Montana called Hog Heaven. Ivanhoe Electric signed an earning agreement. They can earn up to about 75% of Hog Heaven by making $4.5 million cash payments to Brixton and spend about $40 million in exploration expenditures. Last year, Eldorado Gold, one of the major gold producers, got attracted to our Atlan Goldfields project, and here as well, they signed an earning agreement. This time, though, they can earn up to about 100%. It's kind of an all or nothing deal here. And in total, make about $8.1 million cash payments to Brixton and spend just over $5 million in exploration expenditures. And then, as I was just touching on these two metals, gold and copper, gold, as we know, especially in economic uncertainty, is a safe haven instrument. I do believe gold is currency. And with all these new all-time high gold prices, we see that all these major gold producers are generating unprecedented cash flow, reporting high revenue numbers. And that will eventually, and already has begun, lead to M&A activity. And I believe it will actually, at some point, come down the totem pole, and not just developers are going to be acquired, but I believe that juniors may also be a attractive target for the producers to acquire. We have actually seen over the last few years or in recent years that discoveries of gold deposits have declined of about 15%. So in order to increase, a growth profile for a producer, and M&A activity, I believe, will increase as well. And copper, we all know copper is one of those critical minerals, elements, especially as I said, we are heading towards a net zero emission by 2050. The demand on copper will be absolutely outstanding, unprecedented. And in a recent Bank of America conference, BHP CEO even said that he believes or expects copper demand to rise 70% by 2050. So it's a staggering amount of copper that is needed to meet this agenda. And Brixton has both, has the opportunity to drill for discoveries for gold and for copper. So as a strategy that we hope that we can support this demand. The Lassonde curve, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Pierre Lassonde. He is a well-known mining investor. And, this is kind of a timeline how a mining company, an exploration, development, and then mining company is evolving over, 10 plus years. Brixton Metals, as you can see here by this bold, we are still driven, or our value will come from the drill bit, meaning we are still in the discovery phase. And yes, it's a speculative investment opportunity, but also is a high risk and high reward vehicle. And you can see that once you have a discovery, you will basically then start doing all your studies, engineering, feasibility studies, and so on. And that's where, the risk is becoming more or less, and that's, they call it an orphan period. And then, the re-rate potential then will increase again as you move further towards construction and then production. A little bit more on our share structure. As you can see, and as Steve was saying, we are trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol BBB, but also on the OTCQB under the symbol BBXF. Now, we have a $37 million market cap valuations. Brixton has been around for quite some time now, and we have accumulated about 533 million shares out or issued and outstanding. Any of these warrants or options that you see here on that table are currently out of the money. The average price for the warrants is currently about 18 cents, and options is around 22, 23 cents. We have a very healthy cash and receivable balance in the bank. Now, our new financials will be coming out shortly. I would suspect we are in around $10 million, just below $10 million in cash in the bank. Now, of those $10 million, $6 million have been allocated for drilling or for exploration this year. And Gary will go over that here in a couple of slides from now. Very important to note is that Brixton Metals is a very liquid story in terms of trading volume. We have already traded and turned over about 65 million shares since the beginning of 2025. And then on the right-hand side, do you see the pie chart, kind of a breakup of our breakdown of our shareholder registry. As I mentioned, BHP is our largest shareholder. They own about 17% to date of Brixton Metal. Crescent Capital, a hedge fund out of Denver, is our second largest shareholder, and they are here for the gold. I'm quite excited about the opportunity that we have on the Thorn Project for more gold discoveries. They own about 13%. And then you can see, some smaller positions are being held by other institutions such as US Global in Texas, and then the Goering and Rosenzweig out of New York. Overall, though, we are still we're still a retail story, and there's about 58 to 59% in the public float. And in terms of location, very important. All of our projects are in a tier 1 jurisdiction with Canada and the US. Top left corner, as I was saying, northwest of British Columbia, that's our flagship project, the Thorn Project, where we spent all of our dollars and time on. And then, as I was mentioning earlier, we optioned the Atlan Goldfields project and the Hog Heaven project in Montana to Ivanhoe Electric and Eldorado Gold, respectively. Langus is a high-grade, past-producing silver and cobalt project. We haven't been on Langus or worked on Langus for a while. The holding cost is very minimal, and over the last little while, we have tried to find a partner, JV partner here as well. But we may be looking at going back there over the winter months and trying to avoid the seasonality that we have with the Thorn Project, where you can only say explore and work from May till October due to the whole weather conditions, snow and whatnot. It makes it not impossible, but very expensive to drill during those months. So we're looking at Langus to possibly go back there and do some work over the winter months to bridge those those quiet period from January to April. And then I'm not sure who on this call is familiar with the Golden Triangle. It's a very prolific area here in British Columbia where a couple of mines have been built, are currently in production, but also very richly endowed with the metals, with gold, silver, and copper. Brixton's 2,945 square kilometer Thorn Project is on the same geological trend. And you can see that several styles of mineralizations have been identified on Thorn related to porphyry and epithermal vein systems. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to the Chairman and CEO, Gary Thompson, to go on to exploration.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Michael. Is there maybe time for a few questions here, or should we just keep cruising?
I did have one question from the group here. Gary and Michael. The question was just around the share structure. Would management consider a share consolidation to address the high number of shares outstanding?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we certainly have discussions about at the board level of the company. We are certainly cognizant of the share count. I think at some point we'll likely have to do a consolidation. It's not on top of mind at the moment, but it's certainly something that we are considering. And I think when the time is right, and I guess we didn't really want to do it just for the sake of doing it because we don't like the number of shares out. I think it perhaps on the back of some material change in the company that might make sense to do a restructure. But it's certainly something that we're considering.
I had one other question here too. What attracted BHP to make such a commitment and become the largest shareholder in Brixton?
Well, I think for a couple of reasons. BHP has a very aggressive long-term positive view on copper, and they're looking for new big copper plays in good jurisdictions like Canada. And they saw the opportunity, one, I think for the size of the project that we have. So the sandbox that we have to play in is large. And the comment that they made to us is that they believe that Brixton has a complete mineral system here at Thorn, and as we do, doesn't look like it's one deposit. It looks like there's potential for multiple large-scale type deposits. So that's really the attractive opportunity here, and the valuation for Brixton is extremely low. And we know these things just take time and money, and so there's good opportunity there, and they're looking to build the next big copper mines and a regional play. So I think that's the main reason.
Great. Thanks, Gary. No further questions right now.
Yeah, so as Michael mentioned, about $6 million budget. We think we can get between 8 to 10,000 meters of drilling. We just recently announced that we've started drilling. I think we've completed our first hole and almost through our second hole now. And the goal really this year, we split it up really 50-50 between gold targets and copper porphyry targets. So it's really commodity driven. And the thinking is over the last few years, we've had a number of deep holes that were drilled. We made a pretty significant copper porphyry discovery in the Camp Creek area. But also we felt that with a smaller budget that we had this year, that we need to focus on more shallow, high impact targets. So we've been scrubbing the data to come up with some areas that we could really drill some low hanging fruit, and that's the plan here. And so we're starting in the Camp Creek corridor in general because we did identify some quite high grade gold mineralization near surface. So we're looking to expand on that. Obviously, the Trapper Gold target is had some exceptional gold results from the last few seasons of drilling on the Trapper Gold target, and so we want to get some more work on that. And then you can see by this map here, this is a gold geochemistry map showing gold in rocks and soils, mainly on where most of the work has been done on the north central part of the project. You can see up to the upper right of this map is a zone called Catalyst. This is actually a brand new target that was identified right at the end of 2024 season. So we're in the process of putting together a plan to drill that one. So we've got a number of targets. I mean, Outlaw is still a compelling 5-kilometer long gold anomaly that has only been drilled with a handful of holes so far. So yeah, the plan is to drill some low hanging fruit. We've started drilling already. This is a map showing some of the target areas that we have in the Camp Creek. Now below these veins is the porphyry. So a lot of the sort of lime colored, light colored are gold. We're just showing the gold intercepts here, but there is a copper porphyry system below, and we found over the years there's a number of these vein structures that are hosting near surface gold, and there's a lot of areas that haven't been followed up mainly because once we started drilling deeper, we got into the porphyry. Then the last number of years has been focused on the deep porphyry target, and we wanted to take a bit of a step back. We still think there's room here to flush out some shallow, easy vein targets that have high grade gold, which could represent some, early stage mining opportunity as we advance here. So that's the plan, is to get some drilling started here. And you can see one, for example, as high as almost 56 grams of gold, a couple ounces of gold that was hit over the last few years. And really drilling, we're drilling for the porphyry, but as we're drilling through it, of course, we're analyzing all the core as we're drilling. So yeah, again, just a room to expand here that it hasn't been all drilled off. There's lots of value to be created here, basically through the drill bit. So that's the plan. Partly because Camp Creek is lower elevation, and then as the snow peels off, we're starting to see that come off now, and we've got a couple drill pads lined up for the Trapper Gold target for this year. So we have these areas identified that hasn't been drilled. You can see lots of holes within these yellow circular features. But if you look at the samples that represent the white text under the blue boxes, those are surface rock grab samples from outcrop material that have generated some exceptional high grade gold samples at surface. And then in 2021, we started drilling. Here you can see that hole 21-186 returned 139 meters of 2 grams gold, including 11 of 19. And then in 2022, we've had some also very good results, 64 meters of 5.7 grams of gold, including 29 meters of 10 grams. And then last year we had some good results as well. If you look down here at hole 304, 49 meters of 2 grams. That was a southeast extension that included 8 meters of 11 and 2 meters of 44 grams. So still lots of room to fill in the gaps here, and that's the plan this year. Is to if you look at the original drilling from 2011 down here to the bottom right, between that drilling and most of the cluster of drilling that we've done here, there's about a 2-kilometer gap there, and so we see some good opportunity to fill in some of those gaps and just continue to test for extension of the mineralization. We don't think and we haven't drilled that much here really in the scheme of it. So we think there's lots of opportunity to expand, and would obviously like to drill more of these high grade holes like this, just ultimately to expand this mineralization and at some point over the next year or two to get this into our maiden resource, gold resource category. So that's the objective here, is to drill this thing up. And what's exciting about this is we do see significant amounts of visible gold. Now we don't always see the visible gold, but when we do see these, we know it's associated with these base metal veins, so sphalerite and galena. For the most part, we do see some copper sulfide as well. But when you see those base metal veins, and the greater the density of the base metal veins, you're going to have good gold grades. So we have a pretty good feeling of what it looks like when we're in the zone. And it seems to be that contact between the Cretaceous diorite and the Triassic Stihini volcanics. The grades seem to improve at that contact. So there's some structural control there that we're still working through to try and understand the controls on the gold mineralization. It's really a part of it's just following that contact, and we'll continue to flesh this thing out in this season. Now, shifting gears into the copper, this is showing a distribution of copper at surface in rock samples and soil samples. You can see the number of targets. There's no shortage of targets on this project. It's a massive block. Yeah, we have a lot of targets. We've got some new areas that we're interested in, like Sentinel. But this year, because we're basically have a smaller budget, we're focused more on some of the easy targets. You can see where camp is here up to the northwest, where the main areas we're drilling now in Camp Creek. You can see the Talisker vein, the Oban breccia, the main Camp Creek porphyry. So that's the initial shallow vein drilling that we're going to do. And then if you take a look up here to the top right-hand corner, there's a couple of brand new target areas that were identified last year. One is called Catalyst. Now, what's interesting about Catalyst is that we have porphyry style copper, gold, moly, and silver veins that represent what looks like to be a porphyry style mineralization, that surface that hasn't been drilled. And so this is pretty exciting because it's only about 6 kilometers to 8 kilometers away from the main Camp Creek discovery in a brand new area that hasn't seen any work really. We've done some initial work last year, and you can see that rock sample off to the left of the screen represents one of the samples that was collected last year that returned a 0.5% copper and over a gram of gold. So this is an exciting new discovery, a potential for us that's going to get some drilling as soon as I guess the weather allows. We do have a little bit of field work that we want to do just to flush it out. And here's a map that we put out recently in our news release. You can see the soil grid is pretty limited, so we want to expand on that grid to see maybe what the potential size of this anomaly is. So it is a brand new area that hasn't seen a lot of work, but we're pretty keen to get up here as soon as the snow allows. And yeah, we've got some plans to drill a number of holes on this target, and so stay tuned on that.
Gary, one question here.
Yeah.
Have you seen a significant increase in the cost of drilling and personnel this year?
We've had a long-term drilling contractor, so we haven't seen that. We've got a long-term contract in place with Atlas Drilling, which has been a great contractor to work with. So I haven't seen it much on the drilling, but on the supplies, I mean, we had a big run in the fuel supplies there a few years ago from cost of a fuel. I would say that's stabilized or come down a little bit. We have seen an increase in personnel costs, though. I think the inflationary costs for people have come up now. They've been a bit flat over the years, but obviously with a lot of inflationary moves. I think the price of groceries, like everybody goes to the grocery store, that everybody knows that the cost of food is higher. So we're definitely seeing that. I'd say overall, generally, we're seeing a bit of an inflationary increase, but on the main costs have been pretty flat. Like we've had long-term contractors, so those haven't really moved. So yes and no, but it hasn't been that huge for us.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, just to show this is the Camp Creek porphyry where we've done, I think we've got 18 holes now into this, some down as deep as 1562 meters. So we're still open in this porphyry. This represents a brand new copper porphyry discovery, but it is deep. And with a smaller budget this year, we're looking at, like, if you look at the top here, hole 307, very shallow around the 100-meter mark. We're getting some pretty good gold numbers there, 26 meters of almost 2 grams of gold, including 8 meters of 4.5, plus silver and copper. So that's the idea we have with the drilling this year on the Camp Creek stuff, is to just try and extend those near surface gold veins and not drill that deep. So just in summary, we think that Brixton represents a compelling opportunity. We're low valuation. We've got a really strong asset that has great potential for new discoveries for copper and gold. We have the world's largest miner as our largest shareholder. We're fully funded for 2025, and we just started drilling. So lots of good amount of news flow between now and the end of the year. And then we have these partners like Ivanhoe Electric in Montana that's doing work on that project, and Eldorado Gold and the Atlan Gold Fields. Both of those have programs going on this year, and we'll see some additional cash payments from both of those companies that collectively would be close to covering our G&A for the next couple of years. So with that, thank you for your attention, and happy to answer any more questions.
Great. Thank you, Michael and Gary. Again, if you'd like to submit a question, now is the time. You can put it in the chat feature, raise your hand, or use the Q&A function on the navigation panel at the bottom. Question here. How does Brixton plan to prioritize drilling between the Trapper gold target and the newly identified Catalyst and Tempest porphyry targets, especially given the impressive gold grades at the Trapper and porphyry-style copper gold potential at Catalyst?
Yeah, well, we're basically waiting on weather now for snowpack for the most part. There are higher elevations. Part of the strategy of getting into Camp Creek is that there's some high grade veins there that we can go test that's lower elevation. So we're in there now because there's no snow there. So we're just waiting on snow to lift a little bit, and it is starting to melt off. I think over the next week we'll have the initial pads starting to get built there in Trapper. So we're just waiting on that. I mean, how we prioritize them is really just looking for the extension of the gold mineralization. So we've got a number of, we're using geochemistry and geophysics, all the tools in our toolbox that we have available based on existing data. Yeah, we have a plan for Catalyst. And again, we're just waiting on snowpack there. We are planning to do some IP geophysics at the Catalyst, which hasn't been done yet because it was a brand new target. We still would like to get some more geochem on it before we drill, but I think we pretty much have a drill site picked on based on the surface samples that we have, but we just want to make sure that we're covering off the target a bit more. We don't want to jump ahead of ourselves. We might find that with a bit more work that we maybe have a better target, but so we're just trying to fine tune the target really what it comes down to. So that's coming, and that's, I mean, we have sort of set out those priorities, I would say, between Trapper and Catalyst, and those would probably take the bulk of the budget as I see it so far. And of course, that could change. We have lots of targets here, but we'll do the work and see what comes of the initial drilling, and that could change. We could find that one of these, we hit some amazing new zone on either one of these targets that perhaps might change our view on the balance of the year. So we like to leave some room on the drilling unallocated meters in the event that we do hit a new discovery that could change where we spend the rest of the budget.
And when can investors expect initial drill results?
I mean, we're starting to drill now, so I would think, given that we're getting a bit of a jump on most of the operators in this part of the world, I would expect to see results coming in. I mean, late June, maybe early July. What do you think, Michael?
That's about right. I think, are we back to like pre-COVID turnaround from the labs, which
Yeah, we're
was
not quite
8 to
there
4
yet.
weeks?
On the pre-COVID, the labs were about 3 week turnaround. So, if you think how long it takes to drill these holes, it's a few days really to drill a hole. It's probably a week, maybe less than that to log it, cut it, bag it, get it to the lab. So you're talking a couple weeks from drilling and at the lab. So there's about a 5 to 8
6
week
weeks.
turnaround maybe
Yeah.
from when the whole process, depending on the labs. And what we see is that as the other companies start to get into the queue to the lab, those lab turnarounds tend to get longer. So as we move into the season, that those timelines will get longer. So you could expect maybe 8
Early
weeks.
July. That's
Yeah.
a good, yeah.
Yeah, so I would see, I mean, July we should have some initial results for sure.
With the British Columbia government fast-tracking resource projects in response to potential U.S. tariffs, how is Brixton Metals positioning itself to take advantage of these potential changes?
Yeah, I mean, with pretty encouraging speech from the Premier recently of BC talking about the need to streamline the permitting process. I think that's our opportunity because we're ways away from a mine development scenario. What's important to us is just getting, I mean, we're permitted right now for the next 5 years. But when we go to renew our permit, having those timelines shorter would be helpful. So I think we're in good shape at the moment, and obviously we're keen to see these new policies come out that will help fast track permitting in general for BC, and I think it'll put more eyeballs on the province as a jurisdiction. It is generally been a friendly mining jurisdiction, and I think having those improvements on the critical mineral path and development, I think will be a positive thing for investors in general.
Great. Doesn't look like we have any further questions here. So thank you very much, Michael and Gary, for joining. Everyone, if you'd like to get in contact or if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I will put you in contact directly with Michael and Gary. The key word for today's session is catalyst. And as always, please look out for the brief post-webinar feedback form that's going to be circulating momentarily to you. Michael and Gary, thanks again for joining us. Look forward to having you guys on again.
Very
Thanks,
well.
Steve. Thanks, everyone.